My name's Mike Rote, and I'm the pastor of Glory Mountain Baptist Church, and I thank God for youth camp. It was back in July of 1999, the first time I went to youth camp, and didn't want to go to camp, but my grandparents had paid for my way to go to camp, and so I went. And figured if I had to go, I had nothing else to do, so I might as well go. And I knew there'd be girls there, so I wanted to go for the girls. And there was fishing. So, I mean, that's the best thing in a teenage boy's life right there, girls and fishing. Amen, I was fishing for girls. And didn't catch a thing. But God got a hold of my heart while I was at camp. And called me to preach that year, and I've been preaching ever since. Been preaching this July. This year will be 17 years that I've been preaching, and now I get to pastor a church, and our church goes to youth camp, and it's a blessing to be the pastor and know what God did for me so many years ago, and seeing that repeated every single year, seeing kids go to the altar and get saved, and seeing young people go down to the altar and get their hearts and their lives right with the Lord, and seeing young men surrender to preach, and then seeing adults go for the very first time and seeing how God gets a hold of their hearts. That's a real blessing. And then seeing people in the campground that's from different areas that didn't even come with our group come and take part in the church services. And we had a man and his wife that were on their honeymoon, and from around the Wilmington area, and they came to our church services and rededicated their lives to the Lord, and that was a blessing. And we had 6 saved, and I'm telling you, there's nothing that we do here at this church that can begin to compare to youth camp. We have so many different ministries and so many different things that we do here at this church, but it seems like that the whole year revolves around raising money and getting prepared for 3 days out of the year, because we know in those 3 days is when God's really going to get a hold of our hearts and stir our church up. And I believe this is our 4th camp, and I believe that our group come back more fired up, ready to serve the Lord more this year than any other year. And so I thank God we had 52 people go to camp, 6 saved. I'm looking forward to maybe 75 or 100 go to camp next year and see maybe 20 or 25 saved. And, there's no limit. There's nothing that our God cannot do. And so the Lord really blessed this year. We had 21 go last year. 52 go this year. We had a few souls from our church saved last year, and even more so this year. And God's good. And I'm just so glad that we had the opportunity and the privilege to be able to go. I'm so glad that we had more adults that was able to go. And I'm telling you, the fellowship. We always have great fellowship here at our church, but the fellowship that we have at camp, nothing can compare to it. And I thank God for it. And I want to say this too. I was so glad we had senior citizens that went to camp with us. They were the rowdiest bunch we had. The Blue Hairs cabin, they kept us up every night. Monday night, I don't think they broke curfew. You're supposed to be in bed by 10 o'clock. They didn't go to bed till 3, so they had to get right with the Lord the next day. But no, I'm glad that we can take ages we had from 3 months old to 81 years old go to camp, and that's a blessing. And we've had a wonderful time. God's so good, and I'm ready to go next year. I want it to hurry up and get here. God's been good to us, and I thank God for camp.